Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another version of 5 Minute Facebook Ministry, and to God be all the glory. My name is Anthony Daniels. Today we're coming to the book of Psalms, the 112th Psalm, the 7th verse. That's 112th Psalm, the 7th verse. And it reads out of the NIV. They will have no fear of bad news. Their hearts are steadfast, trusting in the Lord. Now, I also like to read the King James Version. He shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord. So King James Version, his heart is fixed. And NIV says his heart is steadfast. And, that's what we have to be. Our hearts, not us as individuals, but our hearts have to be steadfast and fixed on God. And when we're fixed on God, we have no fear of bad news or bad tidings. Because we know that God is with us, that God has us, that God is going to bring us through that. So we don't fear bad news. We don't tremble when we see bad things coming. We know that God is with us, that He's going to protect us and bring us through it. And I was reading a Bible study, and it was talking about how the North Star is fixed. And people, sailors back in the old days before we had GPS and map and all that, they used the North Star to navigate with. And it was fixed. So no matter where that North Star was, if you could find a North Star, you could navigate and find your way to where you wanted to go. And that's what they use as their bearing, that North Star. There was a fixed star that was always, in the same position in the sky. And based on where they were in the world, they could figure out where they needed to go, which direction they needed to go. So that's the same thing with God. When our hearts are fixed on God, okay, and just like those fellows were fixed on the North Star, we're fixed on God. And no matter where we are, no matter what's going on, when we stay focused and fixed on God, then we can go wherever we need to go through. Go through whatever we need to go through. We can get to wherever we need to get. Okay? I know that's a little messed up English, but I like the way it sounds. We can get wherever we need to get. And it's just like Peter gives us an example of that also. When he asked Jesus to walk on water. And Jesus told him to come. And he came and he was walking on water. And his eyes were fixed on Jesus. And he was walking on the water. But then all of a sudden he took his eyes off of Jesus. So he was fixed on Jesus. His eyes were fixed on Jesus. He was focused on Jesus. He was walking on water. And then the wind and the waves started to pull his attention away from Jesus. And when he lost that focus, he started to sink. And that's the same thing that goes on in our lives. When we're fixed on Christ, and we're following Christ, and we're trusting Christ, okay, when bad news comes, when the storm starts to rage around us, when we see the waves in the water starting to pick up and starting to get boisterous, it doesn't bother us because we stay fixed on God. We stay fixed on Jesus. And we know that we're going to continue to walk on that water. No matter how big the storms, how big the waves get, how strong the winds get, doesn't matter. We're fixed on Jesus Christ. We know that He's going to bring us through. And that's what we have to learn to do it. And we don't learn to stay fixed on Jesus Christ by just calling on Him in times of trouble. We learn to stay fixed on Jesus Christ by doing it on a daily basis. Every day, waking up in the morning, calling out Jesus, recognizing, putting Him first in your life, fixing your eyes on Him, fixing your focus on Him for the day, then adjusting that focus back to Jesus throughout the day. So now I want to, when trouble comes, you already know, you automatically go back to Jesus. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to wait till you start falling and sinking like Peter did, and then Jesus got to reach out and grab you. You won't sink because you are staying focused on Jesus. And so we have to practice, and we have to practice staying focused on Jesus. We have to practice turning to God and turning to Jesus in every situation. It's just like when I coach football. I have my players repeat certain things all season long, every day. Certain movements, because I want them to respond a certain way. And I don't want them to have to think about it. So we rehearse it over and over and over again so that it becomes a natural instinct for them. It's a natural thing for them. So when they're on the football field, they don't have to think about what they need to do. They can just react. And they can go without thinking because they've done it over and over again. Their body is attuned and their minds are tuned to react in a certain way and give them a certain response. And so that's the same thing we have to do in our Christian life. We have to practice. Okay, we have to practice being a child of God so that it becomes natural for us, so that it becomes a reaction, an instinct, so that we don't have to think about Jesus Christ. We're just focusing on it. We're just turning. It's a natural thing. So when something happens, boom, we're on Jesus. When something happens, boom, we're on Jesus. You know, just like that. That's how I want my football players to be. When something happens, boom, they're moving in that direction. Something happens over here, boom, they're moving. Same thing. We get trials and tribulations, boom, there go Jesus. Boom, there go Jesus. Everything that happens, it's a natural occurrence. And so as Christians, I implore you, practice turning to God. Practice calling on God so that it becomes a natural thing to you where you don't have to think about it. It's just like anytime, oh, Jesus. Oh, it's just automatic. It's a reflex. Okay, it's a trained reflex that you've taught yourself. And as you practice it and as you work on it, your spirit will be built up. And your spirit will engage you and you will definitely be able to do that at all times. That's all the time that I have. Hey, God bless you. God loves you, and I love you too. Have a great day.